And my first guest is Rob Maher, the Executive Director of Touch. Welcome, Rob.
George, thank you so much for having me today.
So, Rob, you know, your local boy is made good. You know, Congress, Rockland Lake origins, and you're the Executive Director of Touch. So I want to get into your background a little bit. Maybe you could tell our viewers a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and then we could speak a little bit about Touch.
George, I appreciate that. Touch is an organization that has been around since the late 1980s, and I first started off there as a volunteer. And when you find a nonprofit organization that's doing great work in the county, of course, your heart just has to go out and your passion just comes forward. I am a resident, grew up in Valley Cottage, was down in Pratt Institute getting my degree in architecture, and that was during the 1990s when we unfortunately had the HIV epidemic occur. At that time, it was unfortunate that so many people were dying very quickly from HIV illness, and I started volunteering in New York City. When I relocated back up to Rockland County and moved into Rockland Lake, into the house that I'm currently living in, I started to look for volunteer work locally because I still found myself, I actually was working in an architectural firm in Connecticut, volunteering in Manhattan, but living here in Rockland. So I was making a nice big triangle to do volunteer work. And I found Touch. And Touch, oddly enough, what people, when they hear HIV, they automatically think of gay men. Rockland County, at that time, during the 80s and 90s, and even until the late 90s, was the #2 pediatric HIV infection in the state of New York.
Wow.
It was the Bronx and it was Rockland County for the number of newborn babies that were being born here in Rockland County. Touch primarily to this day works about with 80% women who are living with HIV infection. And it's a devastating condition for people to go through. Today, there's great news. People are able to live long, healthy lives with HIV infection. It's become very manageable. In some terms, you can even say it's a chronic illness. Over the years, one thing that Touch has expanded into was our nutrition program. Our nutrition program is a very comprehensive program that it works with. It first started off working with people living with HIV illness because we know very clearly that if you are eating well, your body's able to fight off infection. When you're working with people who are of lower economic status, it is very difficult to buy healthy food. And so that's really one of the main places we're working on right now.
And speak to some of the other services that Touch offers. Your nutrition program, you have a food pantry as well. Maybe you could speak to that.
Yes. Well, part of all of the services that Touch offers is that we do have support groups for people living with HIV. We will be starting support groups for people with other chronic illnesses. In the last couple of years, we've expanded to help people with chronic illnesses in general, people who are living with cancer, people who are living with diabetes, obesity. We've found that our nutrition program is based on the medical nutrition therapy model, where you must see a nutritionist that we provide free of charge, and we must have contact with your medical provider to know what health condition you have so we can address health needs through better diet. And with that, we're looking to do more education around health and health outcomes through nutrition. The other main program we have is a medical case management program, where very often people, again, if anyone's tried to negotiate the medical system, you know it can be challenging. And so our case managers are able to help somebody get to their medical appointments, are able to help arrange doctors' visits, are able to make sure that the individual understands what the doctor's telling them. So those are kind of our main couple of programs that we're running currently.
Right. And how long have you been the executive director there now?
Well, I've been the executive director now for 16 years. However, I was the board president prior 7 years to that, and I was a board member a number of years before that. So overall, Touch has been around now about 27 years, and I've been with Touch roughly about 25 of those 27 years. Yeah, it's been a long time. You know, I came in as a volunteer, as I say, and it's amazing how I just wasn't able to get away from it. It is the people you come across, the need of people that they have, and the gratitude that the people show you is just truly, you know, it's such a great return from our residents here in Rockland.
And let's segue now from Touch. You know, well, before we get to that, how can people support Touch?
Well, I mean, Touch is always looking for volunteers, and we have actually a great working relationship with ARC of Rockland, where they actually provide delivery for many of our people. Again, people who are living with chronic illness very often are homebound. And, you know, it wasn't too long ago, I had somebody who called and said that they were in a wheelchair and they weren't able to get to the pantry that was down the street from them. And I said, well, we'll help you. And in finding out that this individual had multiple health conditions. So, and she's become one of our main success stories, that she now is actually medically even doing better. And part of that is also our case management. We really work to get a holistic, comprehensive approach for all the person's need. And the way that we do that is when somebody is not able to have enough money for food, by providing them food, we're able to open up the door to help them get more services. And so this woman who was short on food, she also was short on paying her rent, she was short on her electric bill, she was cold in the wintertime, and we were able to come in and make sure that she had heat assistance, that she was getting electricity paid for. So that's one of the big things. So where people can help, we're always looking for volunteers to do delivery, we're always looking for volunteers in our pantry, and we're always looking to do food drives. And there's always many of activities that are going on. We actually just had the Girl Scouts back in October do a big food drive for us, and that's always a great success.
And how would somebody get in contact with you to try and volunteer?
They can call our main number, which is 845-268-8023. Again, that's 845-268-8023, or our website is touchny.org, and that's our website. They can certainly contact us there. The other thing I should mention is that we are also a founding member of the Rockland Community Rockland Community Against Hunger group, and that's a networking group that brings in the majority of Rockland County food pantries here in Rockland County. And there is a website, which is rocklandhunger.org, where people can go on to that and find a pantry in their neighborhood that they can get additional food help if they're looking for that.
Right. And tell me about your Get Fresh program.
The Get Fresh program is a program I started at this point about 5 or 6 years ago, and in working with the Regional Food Bank of New York, we're able to get, it's a unique program to Rockland County and to the food bank, in that we're really able to get good, healthy, fresh fruits and vegetables from that program. We're able to distribute, we also run it up in Orange County as well, because we serve Orange County additionally in Rockland. We distribute about 40,000 pounds a month of free food. That goes out to roughly between Rockland and Orange County about 40 different food pantries. And it's really all the food pantries in Rockland County are able to access this food if they're members of the food bank. It's a fantastic program. At this point, we've pretty much have brought into Rockland County about 3 million pounds of food at no charge to the food pantries. And again, it's healthy food. We really, working with the food bank, are looking for those fresh fruits and vegetables. And I'm also very much active here in the county with food recovery and the food recovery initiative that's going on here in the county to make sure that food is not being wasted.
Right. Just for folks that are living with chronic illness, or folks that are very often, you know, it's a double whammy. People that are facing mental health or emotional or physical health issues, severe physical health issues. It's also compounded by poverty. Very often one causes the other.
Correct.
And so the first thing that happens in a situation like that is an individual, you know, they may not have the ability, based on limited income, to be able to afford fresh vegetables and fruits and things of that nature, which then can impact whether they're eating more processed type foods or you know, or prepared foods, and the benefits that they might be able to derive physically, you know, and emotionally from eating fresh fruits and vegetables just isn't there. So it's a great, I commend you on that initiative to help, and not just your pantry, but all the pantries.
All the pantries are really what's been a wonderful outcome of the Get Fresh program and of the Rockland Community Against Hunger networking group, is to really see the sea change that's occurring in the pantries, recognizing that it's one thing to feed people. It's another thing to feed them healthy food.
Right.
And so many people today, I mean, I just happened to be in the grocery store last night, and there's a nice woman buying some food for her children, and you can tell she was buying the chicken nuggets.
Right.
And the chicken nuggets are just, I had to go over and look at the package, they're loaded with sodium. And so one of these issues is, what are we doing to our population today that's starting them off at a young age of giving them food that is so high in salt and sodium and fat, and it's quick, it's convenient, but we're leading to health conditions down the road.
Right.
So we really need to rethink our pantries and our help to people who are low income, who very often are not accessing medical care the way that they should, in order to help them long term, not just the short term of giving them something to eat today, which is loaded with salt, which is going to cause heart disease tomorrow.
Right.
So it's one of the big things that really is changing. It's been great to see a number of the pantries stopping to give out soda, for instance. I mean, we know that, you know, we all like a nice glass of soda. I have to have it with my Chinese food and pizza,
Right.
but it's one of these things that, you know, it's all in moderation. And, you know, we have to really rethink how we're helping people. It's more, and that's why I encourage also people that when you are donating to a food pantry, go for the healthy food.
Right.
The other thing I should really add in here is that most of the food pantries here in Rockland County are part of the food bank of New York, and they can actually purchase food at a much greater reduced price with a monetary donation than they can with you giving them canned goods.
Right. In the moment or two that we have left, you know, maybe we could segue into, you're also an author. You've written a book about Rockland Lake. We had a great event with the Supervisor's Walk, where it was a historic ramble, if you will, as part of the Hudson Valley River Ramble through Rockland Lake, and you led that guided tour, and want to thank you for that. But maybe we could speak a little bit about your volunteer efforts as the director of the Friends of Rockland Lake, and some of the history of Rockland Lake.
Great, I'm pleased to. I actually currently live in Rockland Lake, and I am proud to say that I'm living on a piece of property that's been in the family now for about 170 years.
Wow.
So I'm really pleased to say that my great-grandfather is the one who designed Gethsemane Cemetery that's there in Rockland Lake. One thing I was just talking to one of your staff members that we don't really realize today is the significance that Rockland Lake held in Clarkstown's history. Rockland Lake was a major town with the ice industry and the rock quarry that really helped build New York City. New York City would not have been able to have as much good, healthy, fresh food as they did during the 1800s if it wasn't for Rockland Lakes and Rockland Lakes ice. The ice industry, what then became known eventually as the Knickerbocker Ice Company, actually was known worldwide. Again, I was mentioning that I actually have a postcard that I was able to purchase in London that was where somebody in London would order, drop in the mail on the postcard how much ice they wanted. It would be sent over to New York City, where their main office was, and they would fill it, and they would ship over to England Rockland Lake ice. And it's just one of those things that we just don't really, we forget the significance of that town and the importance. Rockland Lake is also one of only 2 natural lakes in Rockland County, and that's something else we fall short of. And there's so much rich history right here in our own backyard that people really need to be encouraged to come out and utilize it more. Again, it's where back in 2004 I established the Friends of Rockland Lake and Hoek Mountain. We do have a website on that as well, so people can certainly go and look at that, the website.
What's the website address?
The website is Friends of, it's Hoek Mountain, A&D, and it's, let me start that over again. It's Rockland Lake and A&D, Hoek Mountain, MT.org.
Correct.
If you just Google Friends of Rockland Lake, it will come up. That's the easiest. It will come up. The other thing that's interesting to note is that even at the time, it was historically significant that even Thomas Edison came up, and some of his first films are the people cutting ice at Rockland Lake and shipping ice down to Manhattan on the barges. And those films, if you Googled Rockland Lake and Thomas Edison, you can find them on YouTube. And those are just to give you more background that even in the day, it was recognized as a major industry and significant importance.
Right.
So.
So the goal of Friends of Rockland Lake is really to help promote the sustainability of Rockland Lake and promote some fundraising as well to help the state preserve.
Correct. We are a recognized Friends group for the state of New York, the Friends of Rockland Lake and Hoek Mountain, and our goal is really that number of us feel that the park is greatly underutilized by local residents. And so we really are trying to work on a way that we can bring more interest for the local population to come in and utilize the park and the surrounding area. I'm fortunate that I've done a great deal of traveling in my day worldwide, and I still find that the walk along from Nyack Beach up to Haverstraw, along that walk along the Hudson River is probably one of the nicest you can find in the Hudson Valley or in the state of New York or compared to the mountains of Colorado. It is really really, truly a wonderful scenic place to go take that walk.
No,
And-
it absolutely is.
Yeah.
Absolutely is. So you also wrote a book about Rockland Lake, which I have in my office. And if folks are interested in getting a copy of that book to learn more about Rockland Lake, how would they get in contact with you?
They can call the Friends of Rockland Lake at 845-268-7881. Again, that's 845-268-7881. And I certainly, or they can go to the website and they can see, they can contact me through the website, and I'll gladly send them out a book. The book is also available at a higher price in Barnes & Noble,
Right.
and actually at a lower price on Amazon. All the proceeds from the book go to the nonprofit group, the Friends of Rockland Lake, and so that's always, so I always, and if you would like it to be signed or something inscribed in it, I'll be glad to do that as well.
And just jumping back, as we're concluding, how can folks get in touch with you to help over at Touch?
Well, if friends wish to help at Touch or at the Friends of Rockland Lake, they can certainly look us up online. And again, Touch's phone number is 845-268-8023. And the Friends of Rockland Lake, where I will be doing some spring cleanups and I will be doing some more history talks during the summertime or the early spring. My phone number at the Friends group is 845-268-7881.
Good. Well, Rob, I want to thank you for being such a wonderful guest here on our program, Hometown Happenings, and thank you for your service to our community as the Executive Director of Touch and also with this Friends group of Friends of Rockland Lake. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, George. Thank you.
Coming up next, Susan Branham, Deputy Director of the Rockland County Veterans Service Agency.